Been dating my girlfriend for 1 year and just found out she gave me genital herpes. I've always gotten tested, and I mean always. After a relationship, Tinder date, one-night stand, pooping in a public bathroom, etc. My current girlfriend told me she got tested and was clean before we had any kind of sexual relationship, and I trusted her since she's always been the kindest and most honest person I've ever met. Well, here I am with a full genital herpes outbreak, and it looks absolutely awful. I woke up one morning and as I pulled out my dick I noticed some redness, but then I noticed the bumps and then I immediately freaked out. Got tested that morning at a nearby clinic and got my test results back. Genital herpes. I haven't confronted her and don't even know how to bring it up. I almost just want to make a lame excuse on why I can't have sex until it settles down. I know I can't hide this monstrosity of a blistering penis for much longer, so I'll have to have the most uncomfortable conversation of my life. Edit. Thanks for all the information and feedback so far. I have been informed that I needed to be screened for HV1 and HV2, and I never specifically asked for it because I'm ignorant and thought everything was included. I might have been carrying it for years and I just had my first flare-up. I'll be talking to my partner soon and asking her to get checked immediately. No matter who gave it to who, I'm sure it sucks equally as bad. I don't want to read through enough comments to find out if someone else had told you this or not. But unfortunately it's very hard to even know if you have herpes. When you go get your STD panel, you think they're testing you for every STD under the sun. Nah. And they don't test for herpes, because apparently it's incredibly common for most people to have a small number of the trace cells in their body from time to time. Usually these are HSV1, so cold sores, but it's hard for docs to identify HSV1 from HSV2, genital herpes or mouth herpes contracted from genital herpes, unless there's a current sore to swab. So most people who have herpes are walking around thinking they're totally fine and passing it along. Some people go their whole lives without an outbreak. Others have multiple severe ones basically on schedule. It really depends on a ridiculous number of factors and triggers that are largely out of your control. Like being told stress is causing all your ailments, so you just need to decrease the stress in your life. Gotta laugh at that, man. Easier said than done. I do agree that if people know they have any type of STD or contractable illness, they need to be upfront about it and take necessary precautions. It's just the decent thing to do. But I also think the stigma around herpes needs to be toned down a lot. It's not about being nasty and careless with your happy bits, shit happens. It's just another viral disease that people carry and pass around. It just sucks so much worse because it's incurable, so far, and it's your freaking happy bits. Edit. I just want to say thank y'all for the awards. I'm glad I could help fuel such an educational discussion, and happy to see Op is ready to wrap his brain around this in a different light than his original post suggested. Good luck with the talk with the GF, Op. Also a couple more tidbits of info to address some comments. 1. From what I have read, HSV1, cold sores, can be transferred to the genitals, but HSV2, genital herpes, either cannot or is rarely transferred to the mouth. 2. It is true that genital herpes can be transferred to the infant during vaginal childbirth, but it's not 100%. The risk is higher if the mother has a current outbreak, same as usual for the risk of transference. It can be prevented with a C-section. 3. Research also suggests that men are more likely to transfer herpes to partners while not displaying symptoms. Women are not necessarily more likely to contract herpes, but they are more likely to have outbreaks, display symptoms. 4. As far as I know, Valtrex, valacyclovir, is the only medication prescribed to treat herpes. I want to say there was another one, but Valtrex is pretty much it regardless. Also, Valtrex is used to treat shingles. You can either take it daily to help fend off outbreaks and help keep any you do have more mild. Or you can choose to take them only when you have an outbreak to help heal up faster. The earlier into the cycle you catch it coming and start taking the dose, the better. Essentially, you have an outbreak because your body recognizes the foreign bodies and attacks them. Because herpes lies forever dormant in your spinal nerves after it's contracted. This basically means your body is going to keep attacking itself. Valtrex is an immunosuppressant. Meaning by taking Valtrex regularly to fend off the symptoms of herpes, you're also pretty much killing your immune system. Obviously, if you're one of the unlucky folks who has severe outbreaks, you'd probably rather deal with a shitty immune system. But if they're more rare for you, you may just want a spot treat, so to speak. There are lots of articles you can find that will talk about prodrome, which is the stage before the sore outbreak where you feel sick, get tingles, etc. Knowing the warning signs will help you with dosing with the outbreaks, if you choose to do that. I think that's answered all the questions, but if y'all want to know anything else, feel free to DM. I'm not in the medical field, I just had a scare from hell at one time, and knowledge is comfort security for me. I am no more research-based than anyone else who knows how to search for scholarly articles on Google and bombard actual docs, NPs with questions. Genital herpes, HSV-2, is notorious for providing a false negative test. It means that many people who have it often have a negative test. Similarly, many people who have it also are asymptomatic. So it's completely reasonable that she was unaware that she was a carrier. Abstinence is the only reliable prevention method from HSV-1 or HSV-2. Condoms are not a great protection from spreading it, and as I said, a big number of people are asymptomatic carriers. Your standard STD panel doesn't even test for HSV-2. The stigma around HSV-2 is far greater than its impact on lives. My ex carried it for 15 years and had no idea. We are friends and he contracted it after me and then had a 15 years long drought and never had a breakout. When he finally had an outbreak we all got contacted for testing. And the girlfriend he had after me fessed up. Also, false negatives and false positives happen all the time. If you slept with someone and got tested the next week, herpes wouldn't even show up. So she may not even have known. Or you may not have. Hell dude, she may not even know. She may just be a carrier or something. Surprise all you people shaming his GF, she could be a carrier and have no idea. No blame should be assigned until she hears what he has to say. Typical STD screenings do not test for herpes. You have to do a blood test, or swab an actual lesion. And guess what? I have HSV. I've had lesions, tested, which came back negative. You have to catch it at the exact perfect moment for it to recognize the herpes virus. Your girlfriend most likely has absolutely no idea she has HSV. If you've been dating for a year, how is it just now she's given you genital herpes? Speaking from personal experience here. You do not know that you carry herpes unless you have an outbreak. It can lay dormant for a long time. I went through the same situation recently where I found out I have it, have been with my GF for almost a year and she was understanding because I promise. It feels disgusting and embarrassing to not only learn you have it but to pass it on unknowingly. I'm surprised nobody is talking about the taboo of herpes. Yes, it's a STD but it's RLY not a big deal at all. It's literally just bumps on your skin. It's like getting mad at someone because they gave you acne. We just have a huge hatred for herpes in America, so you feel shame when you have an outbreak. My wife had herpes before we met and I was so ashamed at how she told me. Not because I was disgusted by now having herpes, but because she was crying and thought I'd leave her because of it. I literally laughed it off and said I couldn't care less. 70% of Americans have herpes and 90% of the world has it. Keep your head up cuz this ain't the end of the world. Damn brother. Well, from what I can tell from friends who have it, they continue to have completely healthy and fun sex lives and are able to contain it quite well. Ain't the end of the world. You get tested after pooping in a public bathroom? It's treatable, not curable, and you can live a normal life. Let her know you have it and she needs to be tested too. Be cool about it, don't freak and realize this could cause friction in your relationship. Hopefully you too can work through this problem. Herpes is RLY complex because you can have it, but test negative if you're not having a breakout. It's also only transmitted through sex when you're in active breakout. Maybe she didn't know. Had a little bump or something and didn't think much of it. Had sexy time with you, and now you have it. I'm really sorry you're going through this. It's not the end of the world though. You can live totally normal with it. Just be responsible when you're having a breakout and have the right medications, topical creams readily available to alleviate the pain. I just want to reiterate the top comment. Most people have some form of HPV or herpes. It can lie dormant forever. There's an influx of people taking L-arginine supplements to increase sperm production. The vitamin can actually cause a reaction that can cause the warts associated with HPV or herpes to occur. Herpes is very common, you're overreacting. It can remain dormant for years, so she may not have even given it to you. Happens. Edit. She might not have known. It actually might be you that gave it to her, and this is just your first outbreak. You don't live on an episode of How I Met Your Mother. This is real life. Educate yourself and deal with it, same as every other problem you've ever faced and will ever face. They don't test for HSV2 in a standard STD panel. It's actually against CDC recommendations. A doctor will only test specifically for HSV2 if the patient thinks they might have it and wants verification. The reason for this is because it's the most common STD among sexually active adults. 1 out of 4 women and 1 out of 5 men have the virus. For single women over 40, the likelihood of them having it is 3 out of 4. Suffice to say, most people who have herpes don't actually know they have it, so unless your girlfriend specifically knew she had it because of prior breakouts, then you can't really blame her for something she didn't know. Get yourself some Valtrex and you'll be fine. Herpes is so ridiculously common. Most people have one form of it or another. Same with HPV. Please do not panic and don't ruin a healthy, good relationship over it. Here's why. Testing for herpes is incredibly unreliable. It is rarely accurate and therefore the majority of providers will tell you it's not necessary. Your test was most likely only positive because you're actively showing symptoms. Herpes is at most uncomfortable and painful, but there are medications to treat it. Millions of people carry the virus, but do not show symptoms. The only thing that can really harm you when it comes to herpes is the stigma. You are not dirty, you are not tainted, you are not undesirable. I guarantee you that opening up to conversations about herpes to people in your life will grant you surprising responses. So many people have it, but just don't talk about it. Once you start talking about it, you realize how insignificant it is. I'm sure your partner is going to feel terrible about it, but y'all are young and will maintain your relationship just fine, I'm sure. Chill out, homie. You probably got it from someone else. Herpes can be latent for years. Unless you've got an immune disorder, the symptoms will almost certainly go away after a bit. Because herpes was so prevalent and mild, it wasn't stigmatized until pharmaceutical companies ran a bunch of ad campaigns wanting to stigmatize the shame of it in order to sell their newfound antiviral drugs. Sell by shame, strategy and all that. You may even have been the one to give it to her. My suggestion would be to talk to a doctor. They'll reaffirm that you have nothing to worry about. This is the general attitude I got from a doctor when I asked why herpes wasn't on my STD panel. Then responding to why HIV wasn't on my panel, they said, "That's unnecessary since it's so unlikely unless you're having anal sex or have prior evidence that someone you've had sex with had it."